There's a new film arriving in theaters today. It's called Twisters. It's not Twister, the 1996 hit. It is a sequel to that one. It's gone plural, and it's refreshed for a climate change generation. Metro Morning film columnist Jason Gorber here to tell us if he's, and pardon the pun, blown away. Hi, Jason.
Aren't you excited to be back to be talking about this magnificent film about tornadoes?
Do you know, so here's my thing with, why does Hollywood seemingly not have any new ideas?
Because they have new ideas. I don't know. The fact of the matter is you may be asking the question, and you are asking the question, why do we need another Twister film? Why climb Everest? Why go to space? Why not spend a summer watching tornadoes obliterate a bunch of towns and people as part of a summer blockbuster thing? This goes back decades. And we did not ask for a sequel to Twister. We maybe don't even deserve a sequel to Twister. We certainly don't deserve one this good, because this film is much better than it has any right to be. Look, it is not a masterpiece, but it's an actual real movie. There's all kinds of ingredients about this that sort of get all spun together and manage to actually be great. One of those main ingredients is the director. Lee Isaac Chung is this amazing indie director. He did this beautiful film called Minari. He has a semi-autobiographical, but his own story as a Korean individual who grew up in Arkansas. So you have this dynamic between the sort of cultural differences and what takes actually place in the South. And in a funny way, that gets injected in here, where you have the division between the scientists, the people who grow up, who look for ways of actually sort of ameliorating climate change emergencies like Twisters, but also the YouTube generation that's simply looking for the storm chaser to go and show the big image. And so the film itself, the story itself, actually delves into these deeper issues while still giving you action movie nonsense of a bunch of tornadoes taking out a bunch of stuff and us seeing it in all of its CGI glory. And so for reasons beyond me, beyond the calculation, Hollywood has decided, you know what? We're going to give you a movie better than you actually asked for. And somehow it all works.
So am I right in saying you went in expectations low and came out after watching it going, yeah, I like this?
Yeah, I mean, look, my argument was always in 1996's Twister is that they spent way too much time on plot, and it should have just been 90 minutes of just nothing but tornadoes on an IMAX screen, like some sort of, not even a documentary, just the gratuitous destruction nonsense that one would see. This film actually sort of, shifted my perspective on that because of a couple performances. Daisy Edgar-Jones is good. I think she's fine in the lead. But Glenn Powell, God bless Glenn Powell, because he is taking over the mantle overtly from the likes of Tom Cruise. And I think some people will not necessarily buy into that notion, but he really does bring a sense of charm, of charisma, but also a vulnerability, also sensitivity, also a recognition that when, he's allowed to be somebody who makes mistakes and we're not thinking less of him. So within this giant context of an action movie, you have actual character moments. Look, the stories by Joseph Kosinski, who's the guy behind Maverick and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You have really big Hollywood people putting this production together. And somehow, as I said, Frank Marshall is the producer, for God's sakes. I mean, he goes back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, among other things, to the Planet of the Apes films. And again, if I said to you there was a Planet of the Apes reboot, you'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. And those films are actually kind of great. So you have this notion that we're literally doing a theme park ride. I mean, if you go to theme parks, you could take a Twister ride, and all of that elements there. It's just visceral thrills. It's the kind of dumbed down summer blockbuster that we were used to getting in the 90s. And yet, to its credit, this film actually has engaging characters, actually has a storyline, which isn't completely ripping apart your brain while you're watching it. And so, yeah, if you're going in for a bunch of fun, you're also getting something that's a little bit more nourishing than the regular sort of silly blockbuster. Certainly more engaging for me than a lot of the comic book movies that have taken place recently. And so I would trade disaster movies and a redux of the disaster movie front rather than just watching a bunch of spandex heroes doing their thing for the most part.
There you go. Jason, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much for your time.
All the best. Take care.
That is Jason Gorber, Metro Morning's movie columnist and the editor-in-chief of ThatShelf.com. We are talking, of course, about Twisters, which blows into theaters today. It is the sequel to Twister, singular, from way back in 1996.
The Shelf.